Hello, everyone. On behalf of our President, Mrs. Prochi Mehta, the Managing Committee, a warm welcome from the Calcutta Parsi Club to yet another exciting lockdown event, Tehnaz Dastoor in conversation with the Power Panel. It gives us great pleasure to have with us as our moderator for this evening's show, our very own Tehnaz Dastoor. Vastly accomplished, Tehnaz has a doctoral degree in political economy from the University of Cincinnati, Ohio. An expert on corporate social responsibility, Tehnaz was UNICEF's spokesperson globally on a number of subjects after various other stints with the United Nations. A champion of child rights, her work with women and children in crisis in war-torn areas has taken her to Afghanistan, Angola, Somalia, and many other countries all over the world. The 20 Anganwadi pilot project is attributed to Tehnaz, and today the government has scaled this to 1,44,000 centers in the state. Tehnaz is one of the prime social influencers in the city, former head of Indus Entrepreneurs and Company, and founder of Tericon with Ritushmita Biswas. She takes care of the strategic communications firm. Tehnaz continues to consult with various educational institutions, provides training to NGOs and CSR-focused assistance on program planning and implementation for various corporate houses. It is such an honor to have you with us, Tehnaz. We are looking forward to this evening's program with your equally accomplished power panel, who I am sure are going to take it away. All yours, Tehnaz. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, as Firoza introduced me, this is Tehnaz, and I would like to welcome you all, and I hope it's going to be an extremely interesting session. We are live and on air. First, I would like to thank Prochi Mehta, who is the president of the Calcutta Parsi Club, for inviting me to speak here today. I would also like to thank Firoza and Tehnaz for being such an inspiration to me, and for Ratan and Urvaksh for their tech support. Today, I have three guests. Matter. Panelist is Satyarup Siddhant, and he is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the youngest person in the world to climb the 7 highest peaks in all the continents, as well as the volcanoes. Now, what is really surprising is that Satyarup is asthmatic. So can you imagine climbing high mountains, high altitudes, low oxygen, and being an asthmatic? What an accomplishment. Satyarup today has changed his career path. He previously was a techie, and now he's a motivational speaker. He has spoken at CERN in Geneva, at the ASEAN headquarters in Jakarta, at IIMs, IIT, TEDx, as well as at Tycon. Welcome, Satyarup. Today, Satyarup is going to basically be talking to you about how you can change a negative situation into a positive one. Go ahead, Satya.
Thank you, Tehnaz. I'm going to share my story. Here's the screen. You can see that, Tehnaz?
Yeah.
This is Satyarup Siddhanta, and yes, I was diagnosed with asthma when I was 8 years old, and I was sent back from school when I thought that was the happiest moment that I can play. But little did I know that this would become such a big barrier in my life. But then I was thrown out of the playgrounds, but I found my own playground, and people used to spot me climbing trees, on the parapets, on the boundary walls. So that was my playground. When I went to college in 2001 to study my engineering at Manipal, I went through a transformation. It was triggered by an event when I had an asthma attack. And for the first time, I forgot my inhaler in my pocket. The next 10 minutes changed my life forever. And I was rolling on the road, trying to breathe a little bit, and gasping for air. I thought I'll die that day, but I didn't die. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It was proved once again. And I got a belief that, you know what, I could survive this 10 minutes. So that means I can survive without inhaler. So that is the first belief system that I had. And I started not use this inhaler anymore and not take this inhaler in my pocket again. And I started conditioning my body, and this went on, and this transformation phase went till 2008. And when I mastered all the courage and went for climbing this trekking hill, actually, but that hill was more than Everest for me, because I had it was kind of a fight between my heart and my brain. My heart was saying that go for it, and the brain was saying that like if you go, you will die a dog's death. But then when I finally went and equated that mountain to be a high riser, and like bended the reality, and finally when I went to the top, that became such a liberating feeling, and the mountains were magical indeed. So what I learned from there was the small wins are foundation of big dreams. And with that small win, I could expand my dreams. And I started going all over the Western Ghats and trekking in the South India. In 2010, I finally went to Everest Base Camp and saw Everest in front of me. And it was such a magical experience. And Everest was as if casting some spell on me. And without knowing the facts and figures, I promised Everest that I'm going to come back. Had I had little idea that climbing Everest was so dangerous, climbing Everest required that much money of to the extent of 30-35 lakhs. Had I knew about the 1996 disaster and what skill it takes and everything, probably I would not have allowed myself to dream that big. So sometimes ignorance is bliss. The facts and figures were unknown to me that allowed me to dream. But when I got to know the reality, I thought this is an impossible dream. This is not at all possible. And but by that time, this Everest became an obsession for me. And I didn't wanted to get rid of that dream. And somehow it became a part of me. And then I tried to figure out what does it take to climb this mountain. And then I wanted to give everything for the dream. And because I was committed towards this dream. And in this process, my dreams got even bigger, and I was aiming for climbing the highest mountain of all the 7 continents, in which Everest was also one of the mountains. And then I started, so I had to leave my job to climb Everest. Then I started working in 2 places, day and night, just to ensure that I can go to this Everest. And you know what? Finally in 2015, I was all set. Somehow I managed some sponsorship from the Manipal group, and then I did a crowdfunding, and a lot of people believed on my dreams. And my parents gave away their retirement savings. And finally, when I was just about to reach the Everest Base Camp, and the dreams were unfolding, and I was giving shape to my dreams, and the earthquake happened in Nepal. 10,000 people died on that day in Nepal due to the earthquake. And just after the earthquake, there was this big avalanche at Everest Base Camp where it killed 21 people, 21 climbers were dead. Everest got cancelled. My dreams were shattered and broken and crushed. And I didn't know what I'm going to come back and tell, because that was not my money alone. So many people, they had put money on me. What do I go and tell? And it was like devastating. But then I didn't wanted to give up so much. And I realized that, yes, falling is not failure, but not to get up is failure. So when my next door neighbor also had 1,000 reasons why not to go for Mount Everest, I had just one reason why I should go back. That was the commitment towards the dream. And finally in 2016, I again met my team and finally went for 2016 Mount Everest expedition. And the screen that you are seeing, this is the most dangerous section of Mount Everest from the south side. And this is called the Khumbu Icefall. This is also called the popcorn zone because the whole thing is so unstable, it just falls off like popcorn. And most of the death that happened on Mount Everest happens in this section. Now, if I zoom only 1 millimeter from this screen, like one of those section, it will just look like this. And those small dots, those are we. And these are huge towers of unstable ice towers. And anytime it can fall off, and you have to go from within there, and you can't even make a noise. You can't even sneeze nor cough because a small vibration can topple any of these. And in 2014 also, one avalanche happened and one of those towers fell down and it buried 14 Sherpas alive. And they were the top Sherpas in Nepal. And we had to go through this kind of places. Now, these impossible dreams requires impossible roadways, right? Like, you have to go through this. And trust me, it is such a beautiful place. And like when you actually walk through there, you can hear your own breath, you can hear your own heartbeat, and then you can also face your fears. You can face your inhibitions. You can face your limiting beliefs, and you resolve all of them, and you still move on and move on. And we'll quickly see one video here, the video of what difficult situation we had to actually cross. May we have the video, please? So this is section when we went for practice. And the first time I saw this, I was like, oh my God, are we supposed to cross this? But there is no railing. How are we going to cross? And we froze, not out of cold, but we froze out of fear. And I asked Pembaji was our head Sherpa, Pembaji, what if I fall? Pembaji, what if I slip? What if the whole section collapses? And Pembaji smiled and turned back and told, Satyarupji, what if never went to the mountains? What if never climbed the mountains? So why to ask what if? You have a dream to climb this Everest? You better go, follow the dream, follow your heart. And to follow, there is no shortcut. You have to cross this section. If you can't, turn back. But there is no place for indecisiveness. And trust me, the first step that I took there was the most difficult step. And I didn't even look how deep it was. And like, it was abyss, how many meters it is. And when we got confident, just when we got confident about the entire thing, and we said, okay, bring it on. And finally, the day came when we had to push for the next camp. And something was waiting for us, which was totally different. And that was in the night. The same place we had to go in the night. How is it possible? Like, this is so dangerous to climb in the night. And but then I realized, that yes, it is dangerous. It is obvious that it is dangerous, but it is also true that there can be something benefit out of the situation. Now, what can be those benefits? Those benefit is, first thing, you can't even see how deep it is. So if you can't see, it doesn't exist. So the fear is gone. And that gave us a lot of confidence. Second, you can't see the face of your co-climber, that how scared he is. Because if the first guy is scared and if it shakes, that ripples down to the whole team faster, and it's so contagious that it gets to the team faster than COVID. And here we see that the guy just walking and we can't see his face, and he just walks so confidently. So we also got that confident and we could cross. And the third thing was, we couldn't see how far we have to go. So that was like, typically when you get to see the destination and it is so far, it is so mentally taxing. But since we didn't had that, we were like stress-free. And then when we go through this, we actually face our fears or inhibitions. And that time, all we have to do is we have to get more skilled so that we get more experience so that we don't get that fear in the actual summit day. And we practice and we start competing not with anyone else, but we start competing within ourselves. Like, how can we become better than yesterday? And while we go through this, we sometimes forget that there are so beautiful scenery there, and those are like heavenly. And this is one such place. Like, when we look around, you get to see majestic architectures like this. And yes, of course, like, when we have to go through this, there are certain, the beauty comes with a lot of dangerous thing as well. Like, when we were crossing this one Sherpa fell down to his death just right here, like, just a little bit down there, and we were going up, and suddenly I see the Sherpa was falling off, and like I didn't know what to do, and I was like, I froze, and I was thinking that, and he just rolled down, down, and then he never moved from there. Like, I could see him from far, and I so hoped that he will get up. And he was the most technically sound Sherpa in the whole Everest region. And mountains are like, they don't forgive even a small mistake. So one small mistake can cause a huge catastrophe like that. So it was not just the physical thing, like physically tough to climb Everest, but you have to be preparing your mind to see all those things and still move on. And sometimes you will start questioning yourself, why the hell what am I doing? And then when you go towards your dream, and like, sometimes you go in the night, and you have to pay the price. Our skin gets burned because the ice reflects a lot of UV. And when we reach this place, like, this is the Camp 4, and this section above 8,000 meters is called the death zone, because any height above this, the body starts killing itself. Every hour that you spend here, thousands and thousands of brain cells dies. And if you ask someone, what is your name, after they come back from the summit, they will have to think a little bit that, my name, what is that? Like, that happens. And you become just like a zombie, and you take a step and you breathe, and we have to take, and since this section, the oxygen is 1/3 than what you breathe here in the normal place. So we have to actually wear oxygen cylinders. And moreover, when you cross this section is a cold, like a graveyard. There are so many dead bodies around it. We chose not to see any of them because we didn't wanted even a small dent in our confidence. We didn't wanted to have any anxiety here, and we just wanted to focus on what we wanted. And finally, when we go up and up and up, we reach to the summit, the top of the world, and we'll quickly see a video. How does it look from the top of the world? What does the world look from there? And definitely, this was one of the best moments of my life. And I realized that though we stayed for a little moment in the top of the Everest, it was actually the meaningful part of Everest was not just the top, but the whole section, the whole preparation, the whole journey of 2 months that we had to cross. And the sound that you are hearing is the sound of the wind. And it is, when we look around, we see a lot of big mountains that were there. They appear as, like, the anthills. And those are like just like a metaphoric problems in our life, right? Like, we all have mountains in our heart. Just look inside and you will find mountains even bigger than Mount Everest, which we don't even dare to look. We don't even dare to acknowledge that there is something. It can be form of some challenges in professional life, in personal life, or in any ways. Those mountains are there. So my invitation is that just look eye to eye to those mountains and just acknowledge it, and then start climbing it, and then you will see that those mountains are not at all that big, and those mountains will appear just like those small ant hills that is, like, once you cross those mountains. And we have to deal with it. We cannot run away with our fears, our anxieties, our self-limiting beliefs. So all we have to do is just move on towards having that belief system that yes, I can. And with that belief system, let me quickly show the thing that with that belief system, the dreams even gets bigger and bigger. And that, so Everest was not the end for me. It was just the starting. And I, like, coming from a background where I couldn't even run 100 meters, coming from a small town, I could have never imagined that I would go to all the 7 continents, go across climb all the mountains, all the volcanoes, the South Pole, and again going to the North Pole. Yes, there were tough times, but those tough times made me more positive. That made me more resilient. And with it, like, everything is possible. Just all we need to do is to have a belief in ourselves. Not when my parents is believing on me or my spouse is believing on me, but the belief has to come from self. And the dreams are the fundamental thing for anything. And like, if we can dream big, if we can allow ourselves to dream big, if we can be audacious enough to dream big, and then we can chase the dream, and then dream and you are not two separate entities, but it becomes one. And we'll just see a last video and we'll end there. This video is from the South Pole, and it was an amazing journey, skiing 111 kilometers, temperatures of minus 45 degrees centigrade for 6 days, pulling 50 kg sled. And it was such a proud moment to flutter the India flag at the bottom of the earth.
Come on. Dream big and chase your dreams. Nothing is impossible. You have a choice. A choice for the dream to be just a wish in your deathbed, or to fulfill the dream into a reality. So chase your dreams, and I am very, very proud to be an Indian.
Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Satya. You know, my heart is always in my mouth when I see some of those videos. And I must say that you are the epitome of the Nike spokesperson. Just do it. You have a dream, go after that dream, chase your dreams, follow your dreams so that your dreams become part of you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I would like to now turn to my second speaker, Miss Meenu Budia. She is the founder of Caring Minds, a super specialty mental health clinic, and of Cafe I Can Fly. She is a psychotherapist, a counselor by profession, and these days, she is a very popular columnist too. She penned a short essay called Death of a Caterpillar in 2018. This was about her journey as a special needs mother and her battle with depression. Don't worry, folks. Meenu is far from depressed these days. She is a staunch believer of happiness being an inside job. And today, she will speak to you about her journey and how it is okay not to be okay. Welcome, Meenu.
So, good evening. Thanks for inviting me to speak to this August gathering. Let me start with a story. In a small Industrial town called Tinsukia in Assam, a couple of decades ago, in a big joint family of 50-odd people, lived a young, feisty girl. The eldest of 4 children, she had a happy childhood filled with love and laughter. It was a simpler time and an easy childhood, as parents, unlike those of today, did not have a lot of expectations from their children. Left to her own devices, she rode bikes with her brothers, played outdoors with 20-odd cousins every day, sat down to mass meals with them, aced her studies, and dreamt of becoming a doctor. However, For girls, those days in a quiet little town, the only option was humanities. And then, in the first year of college, she married and moved to Kolkata. That girl is the woman who stands before you today. Yes. So I am a blessed individual. I have a warm, encouraging husband, Sanjay, who is the wind beneath my wing, and a kind, supportive family. I have two loving daughters, Priyam, my elder one, a bright young woman handling family business, is my friend, my weakness. Prachi, my younger darling, is my strength and my inspiration. As Prachi turned 2, I got her enrolled to the best Montessori in Kolkata. Within a short while, complaints started to pour in. Her school did not realize that she actually needed help. I could sense that something was not right. Every day became a nightmare for me because of unending complaints. I took her to Nimhans in Bangalore. After the assessment, the report placed before me stated and shattered my world. It stated that my baby is neither normal nor abnormal. I went into severe depression and even forgot to ask God, why me? My husband Sanjay immediately took me to the psychiatrist in Mumbai. I needed more help than my daughter. The doctor put me under medication. The doctor tried to assure me that everything will be fine. I was determined to get Prachi treated. I cut myself from the world and put all my energy into Prachi. The thought that Prachi would never be normal and independent in her life snatched all sleep from my eyes. I could not accept the truth fully. I traveled with her to Dubai, New York, and where not. I put her in different schools in hope of something better. I was living in my own shell, very far from civilization. My life revolved around only Prachi. I was determined to give her a good education. But I must admit that not for a single day did I stop caring for Priyam, my elder daughter, and neither did I stop supporting Sanjay in his pursuits. Then I realized that the first step towards happiness is the acceptance, and if I want to let her grow and make her happy, then I have to be happy first. My mourning period came to an end. This was the last day of my cocoon as a caterpillar. I turned into a butterfly. The death of a butterfly gave birth to a beautiful butterfly. I came out. I accepted Prachi the way she is. So what if I'm a special child? She is the most precious gift of God. It was only after a point that I remember that I had a life too. I was a woman who lived before she became a mother, and I owed something to her too. I had to live. I had to appreciate the fact that I was still living and I wanted to live on. Live for Prachi, live for my family, and live for myself. Amidst the shouts and wails of the wife, mother, and other social roles that I had completely suffocated the woman inside. I realized that the world worked in strange ways. The weaker you are, the more people would snatch you down, pull you down, whatever your reality might be. The only way was to embrace it and wear it like an armor. I decided to step out of the house without Prachi, and suddenly my days got lighter and easier. As she turned 12, Prachi started showing symptoms of depression. I could not understand what was happening. I asked her doctor in USA. Coincidentally, I was also reading a book on bipolar. My sixth sense told me she was bipolar. I asked the doctor and he confirmed the diagnosis. I put her medication with a local doctor. I'm most thankful to my husband, who is my pillar of strength. I am ever grateful to Prachi's caregiver, Anita, who is like a godmother to her. Without her, I could not have achieved what I have. With Anita, I can share my deepest fears about Prachi. My special child has a wonderful, understanding, and loving sibling, Priyam, and for that, I am very grateful. We have never had a formal sit down or formal talk, from the very beginning. Priyam has understood that like I am a special mom, she is a special sister with certain responsibilities. God has chosen our roles and we were destined to have Prachi in our lives. I trained further and further. I did a basic counseling course and CBT from London. I became a student counselor in JD Birla Business College in Xavier's and I started practicing at Wellview Clinic. Then I realized there is no such holistic center which can address all issues related to the mind. I want to apply the expertise which I gained while training my daughter. I realized that the need of the hour was to have a place which would provide all services related to mind under one roof. And that is when we conceived the idea of caring minds. But we were shocked to find out that the areas where the proposed clinic would be had their residents protesting as they had objection to mad people coming there every day. They had somehow gone to court and obtained a stay order. I was devastated. All preparation were done. Staff had been hired and there it was. Everything stalled. Getting into long drawn litigation was not something I wanted. I had a mission to achieve and Caring Minds had to start operating. We decided to start the initiative from a single room in my house itself. That would be Caring Minds office. We made way for a desk, chair, and other furniture befitting of the place, and that's where we first set up the shop. In a matter of some time, we realized that court case had not seen its end, and we soon obtained the land at Sarat Bose Road. This passion and dream gave birth to Caring Minds, a psychological and cognitive wellness center, my third baby. Why did I share my personal story with you? Because it is okay, because it happens to others, and because I should not have to hide who I am and what I am dealing with. Mental illness can make in any parents and stage of one's life, whether childhood, adolescence, adulthood, or old age. It may be genetic or it may develop after a trauma. The point is, it could happen to anyone and it should not make you a social pariah. Don't hide your loved ones. Get them the help they need. Many trained counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists are just a helpline, a call, a video call away. Give them the help, get help. Asking for help without feeling ashamed or guilty is the best skill you can learn. So, thank you for your patient hearing. Now, coming to today's topic, think about your best friend and what makes them such a wonderful person. And now, in 30 seconds, list 5 positive qualities of this best friend. Done? Great. Now, indulge a little by thinking of, again in under 30 seconds, 5 things you love about yourself. Things that you just would not change. Not very easy, is it? If you have been able to write down all 5, congratulations on knowing and loving yourself well. And if you have not, don't worry, you are like most of us, bombarded constantly by negative external messages. We have begun to love ourselves lesser and lesser, some to the point where we would like to change everything and become a different person entirely just to fit in. Sad, is not it? That we would give up every bit that make us unique, makes us to conform, to blend into a crowd and fade away. Whether it's advertisement on TV, social media, or even people who love you, we are directly, indirectly subjected to the hey you are not good enough, or being you is not enough, and body shaming occupies a huge chunk of this negative dialogue. Look into the list of notes and you will find we are constantly being told you are not thin enough, tall enough, fair enough, attractive enough, stylish enough, smart enough, etc. There is no end to the list of not good enough when it comes to looking beautiful. We know we now have underarm fairness creams and formulated specifically for your backside to ensure that your posterior is as soft as your baby. Our self-worth being tied to external validation, it is easy to forget that feeling beautiful is all about becoming your own best friend, and that comes from the acceptance of who you are. Flawsome. Flawsome, a word coined by Tyra Banks, describes something that is awesome because of, not despite its flaws. Combining two very different terms, the word brings forth a revolutionary idea that it is perfectly possible for flaws and awesomeness to coexist. It echoes a powerful sentiment of self-acceptance. Instead of chasing a facade of unattainable perfection in any or all aspects of your life, take a moment to realize that it is your flaws that make you uniquely you. Imperfection is beauty. This is my motto. Your relationship yourself with your body comes first. So let's treat yourself right and fall in love with loving ourselves. And if you are thinking, no, this is selfish, I have others to take care of, remember this: you can't do any good to anyone if you are not taking care of yourself. Love yourself, take care of yourself, and then take care of others. Because if you don't take care of yourself, who will? Make yourself, your physical and mental health a priority. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. My normal may not be your normal. That's perfectly okay. My beautiful may not be your beautiful. And that's also perfectly okay. That's why it's okay not to be okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meenu. What an inspirational story. Lovely to hear it. I've heard it before, and I absolutely love this idea of flawsomeness. Yes, we should celebrate ourselves however we are. Nobody should be telling us we're too ugly, we're too fat, we're too thin, we're too dark. We are who we are as God has made us. And I love the fact that you have acknowledged mental health issues. You have spoken about it in public. Very few people have done this. Recently, Deepika Padukone spoke about it, and there was a lot of backlash. A lot of people said a lot of negative things about it. And the fact that you came up, you acknowledged this, and you spoke about it. You told everybody about your depression and how to get over it. Very inspiring, Meenu. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to move to my third and final panelist. She is one of Kolkata's most beloved educators. Aban Confectioner is known to all of us in the Parsi community. She started her career in 1983 at La Martiniere for Girls' School, after which in 1994, she became the headmistress of the junior section of Sushila Birla Girls' School. In 2004, Aban moved to Modern High School for Girls, where she is currently the head of primary and junior departments. She is responsible for nearly 1,400 students and 70 teachers. Bravo. Aban has also been a sports enthusiast and played for West Bengal at the National Basketball Championships. And she was vice captain of the Rest of India team. Aban today will be talking to us about different groups of children and their parents and what they should and should not do currently with regard to the education system. Welcome, Aban.
Hi, everyone. Gosh, how things have changed. I mean, look at us, mainly Calcutta Parsi Club members. And instead of sitting out in the Maidan, here we are on YouTube, on Zoom. In fact, I'm a trifle nervous because look at the change here. Instead of speaking to a classroom of students, nearly 40, 45 of them, instead of speaking to an assembly full of children, maybe 500, 600 of them, I'm staring at this computer screen. So I'm actually feeling a little awkward. Things are different. And if I'm feeling it, imagine what the children are feeling. Their lives have really changed. one of the first things for us to realize is that except perhaps when they're unwell, children are never at home. Their lives all this while have been moving out of the house, going to school, in school, their activities throughout, whether it's a subject-oriented class, an academic class in the classroom, or it's going for music or art class or PT class, they're always moving around, they're always outside. And look at this time, they're locked down completely. It's tough for them. And all of us as educationists, people in the teaching line, as well as parents, have to work hard to see that we try to keep life as normal as possible for them. Exceedingly difficult. Now, one of the most important things that we realized as teachers is that the learning process has to continue, okay? Whatever happens, the children need to be getting certain inputs, but there were obviously many challenges to this. And we realized that, you know, like they say, one size doesn't fit all, one system doesn't fit all. So various schools have tried different ways of getting their children to study. And we've realized that we've got to have something which is suitable depending on the age of the child. So one of the options, of course, like everyone knows, is an online class. Even though we've heard a lot of negatives about the Zoom classes, we are managing that fairly well with our older students. Of course, there is always the problem of internet connectivity. We've also had to be a little careful that there are enough devices to be used at home, because do remember, parents are also working from home. But fortunately, I think students class 9 upwards do at least have their own phones, so they are able to connect to a class. Surprisingly, one of the problems that people are faced with this is that instead of having a class of 40 Zoom students, there are perhaps 40 plus 2 parents and maybe grandmom, grandpop, all wanting to listen in to the teachers as well. And that can be a little worrisome. But as we go along, whatever little issues we're having, such as this, we're coming up with strategies to try to minimize things like this. Okay, so it might sound rude to say, Mommy, Daddy, you're not supposed to be in on this Zoom class, but for the best interest of the child, it's important. We've also had to experiment between muting the children all the time, having their video screens on or off, because I think you know that if the video screen is on, it takes a lot more of your net time, etc. So some students like to have their screen off. But then if their screen is off, the teacher doesn't want to see one blank screen with Ratan Postwala. Now, is Ratan sitting behind that and listening to me, or has Ratan gone back to sleep? So we've had to make a few changes here so that we know that all the children are attending these classes. For the slightly younger children, we found that the Google Classroom has worked really well. You know, this is an amazing platform on which teachers can upload their lessons. They can put up assignments, they can put up things for children to go through and do. And the good thing here is that there's not a designated time, because here with children a little younger, again, the issue of how many devices there are in the house which are time-bound can be used. So some of these assignments are being done on Google Classroom. What's amusing here, perhaps, is that children are so keen to get back to doing something that the teachers barely finished giving an assignment and say this is on a Tuesday, and she's told them that it needs to be submitted on Friday so that she has the weekend to correct. And lo and behold, by Wednesday morning, all the assignments have been submitted. Far easier than when it was in class, in a room, when you say, yeah, come on, you've forgotten to submit your written work or your project. And I think with the youngest children, we've got to be really much more careful, because they're not really independent enough to get onto a site themselves. They are not able to open an email perhaps and go through what assignments are there. So here we've had to rely a great deal on parents. So what we do, and some other schools as well are doing it, is that either on a daily basis or a weekly basis, which is what Modern High School does, we send work out to the parents, and then the parents do have a bit of work to see that that's done. We try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, a child does not by any chance have to sit for 4 hours or 6 hours in front of a screen to be able to complete assignments. We try to put up some videos which we feel are effective, which gets the message across to them easily. And then we give them certain worksheets, etc. to do. Now, here also there are obviously certain constraints. Number one, if both parents are working, then this work can't be done in the morning by the children. They've got to wait for parents to finish their office work before they get some screen time, because they need the parent with them. Then we are giving worksheets. You think it's simple, okay, print it out, give it to the child to sit and do. But then you're running out of printer ink, you're running out of paper. Some people are even resorting to take diary pages and do the little drawings and write out the questions themselves for their children. But then with little ones, there's not very much else that we can do. Most schools, I think, are planning to do this kind of thing for another week or so, and then definitely have some sort of a summer break where we've all got to rethink our strategies, because I don't see schools reopening in a hurry. And even if they do sometime in July or so, the entire pattern of how that's going to be is anyone's guess. You know, we'll probably have to think of staggered timings, staggered classes, you know, only half the class coming at a time. A lot of things will change, but that's still, there's still time before we decide that. What I'd like to tell parents right now, when you're working with your students, your children who are now your students, so you're getting a little bit of an insight on what it's like to be a teacher. There are certain rules you really need to follow. With your older students, your older children, remember they're grown up enough not to want too much interference. So leave them to do things on their own, but give them strict rules about using the internet. Explain things like cyberbullying to them. You know, these are not things which happen to other people. At a time like this, when so many children are on devices, they must know that care has to be taken. With younger children, set a routine. You know, just because they're not coming to school doesn't mean that there shouldn't be some kind of regularity in their lives. Let them have a designated place to sit. Make sure that you have a time for them to sit to do their work. See that they're neatly dressed. You know, we were quite surprised that there was a class at 9 o'clock and the children looked as if they just tumbled out of bed and barely combed their hair, and there they are sitting in front of you. That's not acceptable, even if it is an online class. There are certain rules and procedures which need to be followed. And it's important for children to know this. They've got to have some feeling of normalcy in their lives. And I don't know about others, but one of the things we are stressing in our school is that we're not focusing only on the academic. Along with sending English, maths, social studies work, we are equally careful to give in a little bit of singing, a little bit of PT, yes. Activity is so important for them, art and craft, 100%. And in addition to that, we've also put in certain life skills. You know, here's the perfect time to teach them how to fold their clothes, you know, take the dishes and put them in for someone else to wash. I mean, if they're older students, they can help you wash the dishes too. There's so many things which in the earlier normal, you felt you didn't have much time for. maybe now is the time that you have to make them do these things. And important to realize that everyone in the family has a role to play. You know, here, I would never say that it's the mother who's got to sit with the child. It can be, I mean, it should be also the father. Both parents should be equally involved in the child's academic work. Maybe older siblings could if they don't have too much else to do. Things need to be shared. It's the perfect time for a family to be together doing things like this. And as difficult as this time is, I know we're all going to survive it. And I just feel that with a little bit of love and understanding and with a degree of discipline, definitely, we're all going to be able to come through this without any major problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aban. What an enlightening talk and really, really uplifting. So you were talking about children being disheveled and not being well dressed. Well, guess what? In the Supreme Court, the justices do not accept lawyers coming or being seen on Zoom screen half dressed and not coming in properly with their jackets. So they do not wish to hear any such petitions in the court. So it's good that children now are being disciplined, that they have to understand that there is a routine and they need to follow it. I also like very much this idea of you all stressing the extracurricular. People think during this time, you know, what are the kids doing? You know, they can do just what they want, but maybe that's not it, that you have made even time for extracurricular activity. So it's routinized. And I think that is very, very important. So wonderful. Thank you, Aban. I'm now going to share with all of you, all the panelists, questions which have come up for each of you. And I'm going to start with Satya. So Ratan, if you can put all the panelists up, please. Satya, there is a question from Tehnaz, and she had asked, how many days did the entire journey take for you to go and come back? I'm assuming that this was to Mount Everest. So what was the travel time, right from base camp all the way to the top?
The journey starts from Kathmandu, and then we actually take a small flight and go to an airport called Lukla. And this is one of the most dangerous airports in the world. And from there, an 8-day trek to base camp happens, and then the expedition starts. And the expedition doesn't happen like you just go to camp 1, camp 2, camp 3, camp 4 and summit. But we had to, because our human body is not meant to survive at that altitude. So we have to go up a little bit, then come down, again go up further, come down, then finally we go for that push. So this whole duration, starting from Kathmandu to Kathmandu, it took for us 55 days. And that's the normal time. Yeah.
55 days.
Yeah, and
Wow.
55 days, most of the times we don't have internet. So, you know, a lot of people are shouting about the lockdown and all. We just wonder that, you know, when we are in Antarctica, even that time, we know that only there are 4 flights in that whole year. And if something medical emergency also happens, there is no way to go back. And there is no telephone, there is no internet. And to go out of the tent itself is a luxury. Like, you know, so we are used to those kind of, like, you know, staying in isolation, staying for longer duration without seeing people. Like, you know, so yeah, that's 2 months for Everest, but other mountains, it is like
shorter time. Okay, thank you. I'm going to actually ask Meenu a question. Meenu, Ratan has asked, having been associated with the School for Deaf Children for a number of years, one thing that he has noticed is that parents seem very reluctant to accept that their children need special education. They want to force these deaf children to manage in regular schools. So what he's asking is the downside of this. And what would you advise such parents to do?
Actually, this is a very big problem. The main problem is acceptance and in denial. And I don't it's very difficult for any parent to accept that my child is special. For me also, I took 2 to 3 years to accept and realize. But at some point, we have to understand and realize that the child needs some help. So if the child has to develop beautifully, if child has to grow, we have to accept and move on. That, and I have seen in my clinic also, in my I Can Fly school, some parents are totally in denial. They just don't want to accept. They say कि मेरा बच्चा को सब आता है, मेरा बच्चा को बोलना आता है, तो they don't just accept. And this is a very big problem. I agree. And that's
Okay.
why we do lots of parents counseling.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Meenu. Okay, a quick question from Aban from Roxanne. Aban, would you recommend as parents checking our kids' work, she's asking, and submitting it, or let them do it themselves, especially since we might not get feedback on their work? So what would you recommend, Aban?
No, I think it's important that you take a look at it. You see, it depends also on the age of the child. I think if the younger the child, a little more checking needs to be done, definitely, because it's no use getting them to do a whole lot of work and find that everything is incorrect. Okay, maybe with older children, you can rely on them submitting it in to their schools and the teachers giving them the feedback. But certainly with younger kids, we are really going to need parents to step up a little bit and be home teachers for a while. They'd need to do that.
So a little bit of monitoring by the parents,
Absolutely.
you're saying.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move back to Satya. Satya, there's a question from Geeta Rabadi. She says, how many days or months did you train before you could climb Everest?
Right. So there is no training that is enough for climbing Mount Everest, and it's a training for life. So it just builds over time right from childhood. You don't even know what are the skills that you might require when you are in the top of Everest. But I started preparing for more than 4 months before going to Everest, and that included cycling, swimming, climbing up the staircase, to freehand exercises, to weight and everything. Yeah, it was a big, it's a matter of your life, so no preparation is enough, and just try to be the best of your health at that time. Yeah.
Satya, actually, just a follow-up. This is a question from me. In a lot of sports, we have sports psychologists, who basically make the person understand, if they feel down, to bring them up, how to perform, how to continue. Do you have the same thing in mountain climbing? Are there sports psychologists who work with people?
Well, many of the sports psychologists work at sea level. So we don't go there, we don't get them there. So what I did was I learned it myself, so that I can implement it myself. So I am a NLP coach as well, and I have taken up ICF coaching just to work on my mind in situations like that. Nobody is there to uplift you that time. So it's a practice that we have to do for ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Meenu, Benaz has a question for you. You have created something so unique with Cafe I Can Fly. Can you tell us more about how you got this idea and what challenges you have faced or are still facing in running it? So you had mentioned the challenges earlier, but can you tell us what you are currently facing, if any challenges at Cafe I Can Fly? The question is for Meenu.
Yeah, so when I conceived the idea of I Can Fly, which is a school for special needs, I thought of Cafe I Can Fly, where my special children would work, where they can live with dignity, and where can they feel a sense of worth. So we conceived this idea along with my daughter Priyam. And I conceived it's okay, but then it was very difficult because training them for 7 to 8 months before sending them in front of customers. We trained them everything. We did mock training. Even before the soft launch, our cafe was opened for relatives and friends, just to give them the training they will be when they will be in front of customers. One person would be sitting at the desk writing what all is going wrong, what is going right, and then next day again rehearsing and again going through everything. So it is a long journey, but I'm very happy because the children who are working at the cafe, they are so empowered. You have to see the confidence, the before and after. Would I say before and after? So now they become so confident. They are taking their checks home. They are buying their mother's gift from their check. So all hard work is, repaid. And now
Wonderful.
also there's no actually Kolkata, the city of joy, has accepted our cafe with open arms. I'm not facing any difficulty right now.
Lovely, Meenu. I have been many times to the cafe, and I can tell you, each time I've been there, I've been really, really happy. And it's really a happy, joyful place. I mean, the actual physical surrounding is really nice. The food, the drinks, everything is good quality, and the service is with a smile. So it's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, when we started, in the first, a customer can come first when out of pity. Maybe the first visit, but not the second visit. Second visit only will you have to ensure quality service, quality food. So that we were very careful from the very beginning. So that was the main idea, and we got the success in Cafe and I Can Fly because of that.
Lovely. Thank you, Meenu. A quick question for Aban. Um, Aban Alu Balsara is asking, will it be safe to send the kids back in July, August? Parents are already extremely anxious. And what would you advise?
Look, if parents are anxious, let me tell you, we are even more anxious, okay? The mere thought that a normal school of 2,500 children are going to come together in July or August, Alu, not at all. We definitely know that there are going to be changes. What exactly those changes are, we have to work out and see as time progresses. And that's one of the advantages we have with the summer break coming up, that we've all got a little bit more time to sit and plan carefully, because we can't afford for even one child to get infected, infect others, whatever it may be. It's a very, very serious thing to be considering, and we're never going to start till we're absolutely clear that we are doing the right thing. We're sure of that.
Just a follow-up, Aban, if the school does start, when it starts, I guess you will have to go through several health-related medical protocols. They all have to be in place, right?
Yes.
So what I wanted to find out is, what exactly will you be preparing for? Do you have any idea right now?
Not really, but we are constantly looking at different options. Okay, there's obviously the fact that till we are sure that children are, in inverted commas, let's say, healthy and okay, they can't come into school. But how do we ensure that? And I mean, even our school gate, if we're going to have one child come in one at a time, do a temperature check, make sure they wash their hands, see their mask is on, will probably take 1 hour to get the children into the school only. So we are faced with a lot of issues in terms of medical, in terms of logistics, which I think is the big one. And we've got to think this through ourselves, because if we're looking at schools internationally, for example, someone very kindly sent something to me from a school in Denmark. Okay, and they happily say there will be 10 children coming in the class and 5 of them will go out at a time for break. If we do that, our 10 children will be coming once in 6 months to school. Okay, so we can't rely on those as any sort of yardstick. We've got to think of it from scratch ourselves with a great, great deal of care.
So lots of thinking, thought, and training will have to go in before the children are even allowed in schools, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Aban. Satya, Jal Postwala wanted to find out, of all the summits which you climbed, which was the toughest and why? And what was the temperature at Mount Everest?
Well, so in this whole mountain climbing that I have done so far, you'll be shocked to hear that I have only done one adventure ever. And that one adventure was in Papua New Guinea. And we had to cross a jungle where there were like a lot of like native people there, and a lot of tribes, and there are traces of cannibalism as well there.
Oh
And
my
very
God.
absolutely, that was cut off from civilization, and we had to go through the jungle to climb that mountain. So that was an adventure of a lifetime. Maybe some other time I can take a talk just for that itself. Toughest was Mount Denali, which is the highest mountain in North America, because we did it unguided, unsupported, and we were 5 friends, and we just went there not to show our bravado, but we didn't have money, so we wanted to do it by ourselves. But it was tough. It was really tough, and the temperature at Mount Everest top, it was like -25. It's not too cold. I have been to colder places than Mount Everest, which was in Antarctica, and Denali, which went to -45 degrees centigrade as well. Like, you know, so.
No, thank you. So thank God you were not somebody's dinner in Papua New Guinea and you're back here. But that's interesting. Meenu, just a quick question. Tell me, how is it that when you were in depression, what was it that made you pull yourself out of that depression? What happened on that one day when you decided, let me change my life? What was it that sparked you?
So when I went into sheer depression, I also was thinking of committing suicide. It was
Oh
so
God.
severe depression. And I was going with Prachi all over the world, to Dubai, to New York, to Europe. And my journey started from Bangalore, where I got Prachi assessed, and the journey ended at Bangalore. So the Bangalore was the last where I took Prachi, and I set up a home for 1 year, coming weekends in the Kolkata and weekdays there. There was one eye center where they were doing eye exercises, and they claimed that she will be all right. So I was running here and there wherever I heard that there is some treatment. So, and I don't know, somehow at the end of 1 year, I heard that they are beating up children for the therapy. And I'm always a person who never look back. So just that day, that moment, I decided enough is enough. Now I'm back to Kolkata, back in my life, and that was the day. And I didn't even inform Sanjay that I'm flying back. I just wrapped up everything and flown. And I told Sanjay, no, I'm back. And actually, I started my journey after that. I started learning, relearning, everything I started after that. And I'm very happy. And that's why I always call my journey that death of a caterpillar is the birth of a butterfly.
Wonderful. Thank you, Meenu. I have a question for Aban, for my daughter Anya, who is in Germany, as you may know. She has written that the role of a teacher and a parent in one space at home, what are the side effects of that? And can being strict affect the approachable nature of a child towards their parent? And how does one create a balance between that?
Okay, see, getting the balance is always the most important thing in anything that one does, okay? Which is why when I was talking, I said it's important for every member of the family to be together at this time, because this is the only way one can really move forward, okay? I've seen it many times, unfortunately, that in our society, the mom is kind of made the bad cop and the dad seems to play the good cop. Okay, that's something which has to change. It's got to be something which moves in both directions. Of course, you've got to be a little strict, and children are not going to perhaps like that. But if you have reasonable rules, okay, you can't just say, no, except for schoolwork, you're not going to use the iPad. Okay, you've got to be a little reasonable. You say, okay, you can use it for about an hour, maybe give them a little leeway of about 5-6 minutes more. But certainly not let them use it for 5 or 6 hours after that. Okay, so I think if you in the family have a set of rules and follow them, and there's also a lot of love and understanding and care, you can't do anything without that. But you can't only have that. The discipline has to be there as well. So I think it's the best time for everyone in the family to work together. And here I do mean the grandparents as well. Grandparents tend to be a little extra soft. They're meant to spoil the child,
Yeah.
I presume. But at the same time, they also need to realize when parents are being a little firm. And I think if everyone together works together, then you're going to get that maybe not the perfect balance, but a good enough balance.
Thanks, Apan. Satya, Firoza Mogrelia wants to know, how did you manage to even think of taking such great photographs and videos in such circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots and lots of stories behind these pictures as well. So the summit video that you saw at the top, my 3 cameras failed at the top of Mount Everest because it was so cold, and I took out the camera and the battery just went off like that. And it so happened that I waited for my co-climber, the climbing partner. So when I saw him, so he was just enjoying the situation, and and at that point of time, my oxygen mask just malfunctioned. Half an hour I was without oxygen, and I had to go down fast, otherwise I will die, And I'm calling him and he's not coming. So I ran towards him to ask for his camera, only to find that his camera is also gone. And he thought that I am carrying 3 cameras, so he didn't carry another camera. So taking pictures in mountains is very difficult. And if you don't have the summit picture, your summit claim is not valid, right? So we had to. So we were waiting at the top of Mount Everest, just like 3 idiots, we sat there and there. Oh my God, nobody will believe that we have climbed Mount Everest there. So fortunately, one of our Sherpa friend, he was taking a picture, selfie, and So what I'm trying to say is that there are almost a half an hour story at the top of Mount Everest that happened there. And fortunately, we could we could convince him to take a 360-degree video, and he was not taking our pictures. But since he took the 360 video, we were there, fortunately, in that video. We took our mask and we took the pictures. But yes, it's very interesting. And nowadays, I carry one camera which doesn't require a battery, and only 3 films are there just as a backup. If everything fails, at least I have that, and I carry a solar power panel also, just in case I can charge there and all. Yeah.
So Satya, is it true then that when you do scale these mountains, you have to have photographic evidence that you were there?
Yes, photographic evidence plus video 360 degree. So when I applied for Guinness World Record, even the photo and videos were not enough. So I had to provide my GPS tracking. So I carry one device called Delorme, in which, so now Garmin has taken over that. So I had to put that, and not only the final days, but whole journeys. And then I had to find out 3 more people who have seen me there at the top, who had seen me. So we had to take their testimonials and all. So it's, and this all happened because there are a lot of malpractices that happened. So even, I don't know whether you have followed the news that time in 2016, there was a world news where a Pune police couple claimed that they summited Mount Everest. So they morphed a picture and put their picture there, and the picture was mine.
Oh,
so my summit picture. And then suddenly I see myself in BBC and National Herald and all over the world, all the newspapers, and I and I couldn't believe that. I have heard about that before, but it would be done with my picture. So I had to run around and prove that it was my picture, and they morphed and all. So yes, this is very important to because it happens outside everyone's eyes, right? It's a place where there are no audience. So we have to give those evidences.
Okay, that's interesting. I had no idea. Thank you. Meenu, just a quick question. You spoke about your journey and your interaction and in dealing with Prachi. But can you tell us a little bit about both your husband, Sanjay, and Priyam, your daughter, your other daughter? How did they initially deal with Prachi?
Sanjay, as I told, I have a wonderful family, not only husband and daughter, but my in-laws, my parents, they all were very supportive from the very beginning. And Sanjay is the pillar of my strength. For every therapy, for every journey, he was there like a rock. And and my family, also my in-laws, they always accepted Prachi. There was no question that she was not accepted. And Priyam, she's the elder sister who really means, I have no words to explain, but she takes care of Prachi like no other. And she looks her, and from the when she was a child, I always used to think Priya must be feeling neglected, must because the whole attention was on Prachi. But it was not so, because she was also she went to abroad for studies. When she was back with my mission, and she joined me in Caring Minds and Icons. I'm really happy to share that. Thank you.
Lovely. I had a little conversation some time ago with Priyam, and I'm not sure if I should share this, but I asked her, you know, what would happen to her sister when she got married. And she says, oh no, we are a package, a joint package. Whoever marries me understands my sister is going to be in my life forever. Such a lovely, lovely thought. So I thought I should share that with you too.
And I told, as we never had a formal discussion, but she always knows that Prachi is in her life and she will stay there forever. So
that's wonderful. That's really lovely.
I would say every special child should have a sibling.
Wonderful. Okay, Aban, tons of questions for you. So I'm just going to read them out. Vijay Dugar is asking, in a post-COVID world with online classes becoming so big, what will the future of schooling be for children? And Firoza Masani is asking, do you see online learning becoming more of a norm in the future in schools?
Okay. See, I sincerely hope it doesn't become the norm, okay? I mean, we as teachers, in fact, we keep talking about it, that the joy of teaching is having our students there with us, you know, and without that interaction, without actually having them there, popping up, asking all those questions, I mean, it's not teaching. Okay, so I sincerely hope, I mean, that we are going to get back into the classroom as soon as is safe. All right, that's 100%. But the timeline is something that we have no clue about, right? What was it that Viju asked? The future?
Well, just in a post-COVID world, you see these online classes becoming very big. Is it going to be the future of schooling?
No, I hope it's not going to be the future of schooling. We are all aiming to get back into the classroom, okay, in whichever manner. I'm definitely seeing a difference. There's no two ways about that. But I'm certainly hoping, sincerely hoping, that these online classes are not going to be the norm, okay, especially with younger children.
Just a quick thing, Firoza Mogrelia was asking about foreseeing the entire academic year being extended. Do you see that? And also the board exams for 21. Do you think that they will be delayed?
Okay, first let's finish with the board exams of 2020.
Right.
They're flip-flopping on that. You know, it's sad they're not being decisive about it, but at the same time, perhaps one can't really blame them, because I'm not too sure about class 10, but class 12 is a very important stage, and they've got to somehow work out how they're going to move forward from there. So what they do with the class 10 is not earth-shattering, because children are already in class 11 and they're doing their classes, but 12 is certainly a question mark. And they are perhaps already working at reducing the curriculum a little bit, making things somewhat condensed. But further than that, till we get directives from the council, I don't think we can really say much, because these are not in these decisions are not in our hands. It comes from the school council.
Okay, so I think that we've answered all the questions. And I would like to thank all three panelists. Thank you, Aban. Thank you, Meenu and Satya. You were very, very entertaining. I did not read out the multitude of congratulatory messages for all three of you. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm now going to turn over to Prochi to end the session.
Thank you, Tehnaz.
It's not coming on.
Prochi, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Tehnaz, for organizing today's informative and interesting program. You have brought to us at CPC 3 very interesting and inspiring speakers. Thanks a lot. Satya, you have taken us sitting in our homes to the top of Mount Everest. We actually lived with you to the climb to the top without having to go through your tremendous training and discipline. Your story of how you learned to breathe at ground level and then finally being able to overcome that and breathe in the thin air at top is quite inspiring. Our hearts were racing in fear when we watched you crossing that bridge between the 2 mountains. Thank you for a once in a lifetime experience and for showing us that fear can be conquered with a positive mind and that we should persevere to achieve our dreams. Thank you, Satya.
Thank you.
Inu, your story with Prachi is truly inspiring. Just a few months ago, you invited us to your new initiative into psychological wellness, your center called Caring Minds. You have taken understanding and acceptance to a different level. Congratulations.
Thank you.
My father, Rusi Begini, was associated with a rehab center for children. Over here, the children used to come from the villages and go back home cured.
Wow.
Once an entire village came to the center and we were all wondering why. So they said, we've come to see the house of miracles. So Minu, congratulations on creating a newer, more modern house of miracles.
Thank you, Prachi.
Congratulations.
I just read your book, The Parsis of Kolkata. It's awesome. I was thinking of writing a letter. Maybe I write in a day or 2.
Thank you. And Aban, everyone's favorite auntie. The children are really missing your chocolates. Seriously, Aban, thank you for your suggestions on how to relook at educating our children. This is a real challenge today. Parents and children are learning a new way of life, and your suggestions are very helpful. I wonder if our parents can consult you individually to help them conquer these challenges and try to help their children better.
Of course, my goodness, just a phone call away.
Lovely. Thank you everyone for being here today with us at CPC and inspiring us. Thank you again.
Thank you,
you.
Tehnaz.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Tehnaz.
You're welcome.